the source of HECM reluctance, why many refuse to tap into their home's equity. Welcome back to the Industry Leader Update. Are older Americans worrying about the wrong things in retirement? Well, that was a question that was put forth in Robert Powell's recent column that can be found in Market Watch. Powell notes there's a substantial disconnect between real and perceived risk, and he cites a brief that was written by Wenliang Hou, a former research economist at the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. The biggest risk in the objective ranking is longevity risk, then followed by health risk and market risk. But at the top of the subjective ranking is market risk, which reflects a retiree's exaggerated assessment of market volatility. In other words, studies based on real-life outcomes show us that the greatest risk in retirement is to outlive your money. Yet most retirees are concerned about investment risk. Now, seeing that distortion between reality and perception, Finance of America's recent study should come as no surprise. That study found that older homeowners are nearly 2 times less likely to consider tapping into their home's equity, even with a loan. That despite the fact that their age and their accumulated equity could make them an ideal candidate. Now, Finance of America's 2022 Home Equity Survey found that 94% of homeowners born between 1928 and 1945, they resist the idea of tapping into home equity. Not surprising, since many of them grew up during the Great Depression. But surprisingly, 89% of baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 64, said they're unlikely to consider any home equity products. So FAR's survey concluded that 90% of respondents across all groups expected that their financial advisor would recommend tapping into home equity if that was appropriate. But will most financial advisors even make that recommendation or even consider it? It's a frustrating question to ask, considering the largest asset for most older Americans is their home. But the answer can be found in a study that FAR cites from the Academy for Home Equity and Financial Planning that comes from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. It found that over 60% of financial planners either cannot discuss home equity or they're uncertain on how to approach the subject. So the effectiveness of reverse mortgage professionals reaching out to financial advisors and retirement planners has been both touted and disparaged in our industry. Touted for its potential to help expand our market penetration and, of course, help retirees stabilize cash flow in retirement, but also dismissed for being what some say is an inadequate strategy that few would embrace. The choice is either to discard the idea of partnering and educating financial professionals on the potential benefits of home equity, or we can make a systematic and well-researched approach that would encourage engagement, education, and ultimately the recommendation of suitable home equity products for their clients. Now, as the potential for accelerating inflation mounts and also the cost of borrowing is surging, solutions are going to be needed. The question is, will those who are at risk of outliving their money or having to reduce their standard of living have the ability to see the lifeline that could be floating right in front of them? The general public's unfamiliarity with reverse mortgages and also financial advisors' reluctance or practice of completely ignoring equity altogether not only speak to the long-standing frustration of reverse mortgage professionals and lenders and also low market penetration, but also of the loan's incredible potential. Now, perhaps a 1975 Stanford study can bring the challenge into focus. Researchers found that once formed impressions are remarkably perseverant, even despite clear evidence that contradicts their beliefs. And seeing that FAR's survey found that 9 in 10 respondents, 90%, trust their financial advisor, it may actually behoove us to reconsider our notions and perhaps instead make a modest effort to engage retirement planning professionals. Now, what are your thoughts? Leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you'd be so kind as to share today's video on your social media platforms, we appreciate that. We also have our YouTube channel. You can subscribe and then hit the notification bell. That way you never miss an upcoming episode. And each and every week, with no cost, no subscription required, you can listen to the nation's only weekly podcast for the reverse mortgage professional like yourself, HECM World Weekly. Apple users can also listen and subscribe on iTunes. Thanks again for joining us, and until we see each other again next week, happy originating.